In the endless night of the universe, where the light of distant stars was nothing more than faint specks against the cold void, a deep, commanding voice rose from the darkness. Humans. Do you think you are special? Do you believe your tiny planet can withstand the wrath of a great empire? You are nothing but dust in the endless sea of the cosmos. Images of a devastated planet flashed by, cities ablaze, screams of despair echoing. The voice continued, now even colder. You have one chance. Send your strongest warrior to prove your worth. If you fail, Earth will share the fate of hundreds of other worlds before it. The signal abruptly cut off, leaving behind a suffocating silence. In the halls of the Global Union Council, tense faces stared at one another. The silence stretched, heavy with the weight of the threat that had just been delivered. Thus began the journey of Team Sigma, not just to fight for Earth's survival, but to prove that humanity, despite its frailties, carried a strength no empire could crush. But could they truly stand against an adversary who proclaimed himself invincible? Or was this merely the first chapter of a tragedy written in the stars? In the command room of Earth's defense station, a suffocating tension hung in the air. Flickering fluorescent lights illuminated tired and grim faces. The central screen, which had been streaming reports of skirmishes from nearby star systems, suddenly cut out. In its place appeared the towering figure of a creature clad in shimmering silver armor, its fiery red eyes burning with intensity. Supreme General Valdrak, the leader of the Dranok Empire, loomed like a divine arbiter. His imposing presence dominated the screen, with the massive warships of the Dranok fleet hovering in the dark abyss behind him. Humans, Valdrak began, his voice resonant and somber, like the toll of a funeral bell. The weakest creatures we've encountered in our conquest of the galaxy. You call yourselves intelligent, but your clinging to peace is nothing more than a veil for your cowardice. His tone darkened, his fiery eyes scanning as if piercing through the screens and into the hearts of those watching. Behind him, the hologram shifted, displaying images of devastated planets, ruined cities, blazing rivers, and annihilated alien species. The Dranok Empire does not tolerate weakness. Peace is not a shield to hide behind, it is a declaration of surrender, and we have tolerated it long enough. One cycle from now, you will prove your worth. Valdrak stepped closer to the camera, the cold light reflecting off his metallic armor, accentuating every menacing detail. Send us your strongest warrior, or prepare to witness Earth's erasure. You will cease to exist, no memories of you will remain in this universe. His final words cut through the heavy silence in the Global Union Council. Valdrak straightened, a provocative smirk spreading across his face before the screen went black, leaving the room in a deathly quiet. Leaders, generals, and diplomats of the council exchanged worried glances. General Martin Kane, commander of Earth's defense forces, stood, his eyes resolute but his shoulders heavy with responsibility. They don't just want a battle, Kane said, his voice hoarse. They want to crush our spirit before the fight even begins. An elderly diplomat spoke hesitantly, his voice trembling. Perhaps, we can negotiate. Maybe there's a way to delay. Kane slammed his hand down on the table, making the documents and small screens tremble. No. This isn't something we can negotiate. If we bow, they'll destroy us without a second warning. From the back of the room, a low, steady voice broke through the debate. Then we fight. All eyes turned to the speaker. Captain Leon Vega, leader of Alpha Squadron, the most elite unit Earth had ever trained, stepped forward. His sharp blue eyes radiated determination, his muscular frame poised under his sleek black uniform. We don't need to prove anything to Dranok, Adrian said firmly, his voice steady. but we will prove it to ourselves. They think we're weak. I say we show them a strength they've never seen before. Kane nodded, a flicker of hope lighting his weary face. All right, Captain. Your Alpha Squadron will lead the charge. We fight not just for survival but for the honor of humanity. Outside the command station's vast windows, Earth turned quietly under the dim glow of the sun. In the distance, the Dranok Empire's warships had begun their advance. One cycle. One chance. Adrian returned to the staging area, where Alpha Squadron was gearing up. His 4 elite soldiers were ready. Major Elena Torres, a brilliant strategist who had led teams through countless impossible missions. Sergeant Mason Tank Grayson, a hulking powerhouse with unmatched strength and unwavering loyalty. Tech specialist Hiro Takeda, a master of technology capable of hacking any system. Sniper Ivy Lin, a sharpshooter who had never missed a target in her entire career. Adrian surveyed his team, his voice unwavering as he spoke, "We're not just representing Earth. We're representing the future of humanity. Be ready. Tomorrow, we'll show the universe that humanity never backs down." They nodded in unison, their eyes burning with determination. Outside, the Dranok fleet crept closer, carrying its cold ultimatum. But in the shadows, Alpha Squadron had begun preparing for a battle that would decide the fate of an entire planet. On the Nova Prime space station, a massive fortress floating in the void of space, humanity's leaders convened in the central meeting chamber. The glow of holographic screens illuminated their tense faces. This gathering wasn't just a discussion, it was the moment humanity had to decide its future. Negotiation is the reasonable choice, an elderly diplomat said, his voice trembling but resolute. The Dranok clearly surpass us in technology. A full-scale war would only lead to annihilation. Across the room, General Naomi Hart, head of Earth's Defense Forces, slammed her hand on the table. She was a middle-aged woman with short-cropped silver hair and sharp eyes filled with determination. We cannot negotiate with an enemy whose sole aim is annihilation. Look at the planets destroyed by the Dranok. Every time they negotiated, it was just a delay tactic before unleashing catastrophic destruction. But what if we lose? Another delegate asked, his face pale with worry. Is it worth risking humanity's existence for pride? Naomi stood tall, her voice cutting through the air like steel. We're not fighting for pride. We're fighting for survival. We cannot allow ourselves to be erased from the universe as if we never existed. If we must fall, we will fall as those who dared to fight. The room fell silent, save for the hum of monitors displaying strategic data. Dr. Elias Morgan, a leading scientist, broke the stillness with a measured tone. The Dranok may be superior, but they are not invincible. Every civilization has a weakness. The question is whether we can find it before it's too late. All eyes turned to Team Sigma, humanity's most elite force, standing at the back of the chamber. Team leader Leon Vega stepped forward, a tall man with broad shoulders and piercing eyes. His black uniform exuded authority. Leon nodded, his voice firm. We understand the mission. We represent more than just the military, we represent all of humanity. If the Dranok want a challenge, we'll show them the courage of mankind. Naomi softened her gaze as she looked at Leon. Leon, we need more than strength, we need intelligence. We can't defeat them with conventional weapons. Team Sigma's mission isn't to engage directly but to disrupt their plans. Find their weakness. Strike from within. Leon nodded again, his expression growing serious. He knew this mission meant Team Sigma might not return. But he kept the thought to himself, knowing every member of his team was ready to sacrifice everything. Behind Leon, the 4 other members of Team Sigma stepped forward. Elena Cruz, the strategist who always maintained her composure in the most intense situations. Mikhail Drago, the weapons expert with massive hands and mastery over any firearm. Evelyn, a top-tier hacker capable of breaching even the most advanced Dranok systems. Jonas Kane, an ace pilot who commanded the Erebus, humanity's most advanced stealth ship. Naomi looked at each of them, her voice resolute yet solemn. You are our last hope. Find their weakness, do whatever it takes to turn the tide. We'll hold the line here, but we need you to make the difference. Leon turned to his team, his eyes steady and unwavering. We know what's at stake. We know the risks. This isn't just a military mission, it's our responsibility to humanity. The team nodded in unison, no words needed. Each of them understood the gravity of the situation. Hours later, on the launch pad of Nova Prime, the Erebus stood ready. Team Sigma stood on its deck, looking back at Earth, a vibrant blue sphere suspended in space, full of life yet so fragile. We will return, Leon said, his voice firm. And when we do, the Dranok will never dare underestimate humanity again. The ship's hatch sealed shut, and the engines rumbled with a low growl. The Erebus ascended, soaring into the endless expanse of space, carrying the hopes of billions on Earth. Ahead of them lay a perilous journey unlike any other, but the team knew they weren't just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for the survival of the human race. The journey through the wormhole felt like a tear in reality itself. The Erebus spiraled through the chaotic light stream, leaving behind the soft blue glow of Earth as it entered the fiery red atmosphere of Dranok Prime. As the ship emerged from the wormhole, the landscape unfolded like a nightmare. The sky was a searing red, torn apart by fiery flares from a dying star, the ground cracked open as if blood were spilling out, and black towers rose like the fingers of some dark deity, gripping everything in sight. Leon Vega stood on the bridge, his sharp gaze fixed on the radar screen. Drago, report. Mikhail Drago, seated at the weapons control panel, responded immediately. No patrol ships within 10 kilometers, but thermal sensors show significant movement around the central fortress. Evelyn, seated beside him, was busy working with the control panel. I've hacked into Dranok's surveillance system. We don't have much time, they'll detect our presence in 10 minutes. Leon nodded. All right, we can't afford to waste time. Kane, bring Erebus into stealth mode and land at the marked coordinates. Jonas Kane, the team's pilot, slid his fingers across the console. Understood. Hold on tight, everyone. The Erebus silently landed in an ash field near the central fortress of Dranok Prime. No noise, no light, just pure darkness enveloping the ship. Team Sigma quickly disembarked, each member equipped with stealth armor and humanity's most advanced weaponry. The air here is toxic, but the filters in our suits will keep us safe, Elena Cruz, the strategist, said as she checked her screen's readings. Leon led the way, his voice authoritative yet reassuring. Remember, we only have one shot. We need to infiltrate the central fortress, upload the strategic data, and destroy the main energy core. This will disable Dranok's entire defense system long enough for Earth to launch a counterattack. The team moved along a large fissure in the ground, staying hidden from Dranok's patrol drones. Every step was tense, but Team Sigma was trained to maintain their composure in the most dangerous situations. They reached the massive wall surrounding the central fortress. Ava quickly deployed a hacking device to disable the energy barrier. Just 30 seconds, she said, her fingers moving like lightning across the keyboard. As the energy field flickered and weakened, Leon signaled for the team to move in. But just as they stepped through, an alarm blared. "They've detected us!" Drago shouted, raising his plasma rifle. From the shadows, Dranok guards emerged. They were towering, muscular beings clad in glossy black armor. Their crimson eyes gleamed, and the energy weapons in their hands pulsed with deadly light, ready to fire. "Defensive formation," Leon commanded, and Team Sigma quickly formed their battle lines. Drago fired first, his plasma gun unleashing streams of green light that shredded through the armor of the Dranok soldiers. Elena seized the opportunity, throwing a magnetic grenade into the middle of the guards, temporarily disabling them. Ava and Leon advanced while Kane provided cover with precise shots from the rear. The skirmish lasted only a few minutes, but it felt like an eternity. As the last of the Dranok soldiers fell, Leon ordered, "No stopping. Keep moving." They ran through the darkened halls of the fortress, where dim red energy lights cast their shadows against the walls. Finally, they reached a large door leading to the command center, the throne room of Valdrak. Leon signaled for the team to stop. He turned to face his comrades, his eyes filled with determination. "We end this here. This isn't just about us, it's about all of humanity." Ava quickly set up the hacking device to unlock the door. As the massive door slowly creaked open, the image of General Valdrak, seated upon a gigantic throne, appeared before them. He was tall, his black armor adorned with blood-red patterns, and his eyes gleamed with derision as he watched Team Sigma enter. "Humans, you actually think you can infiltrate here and survive?" Valdrak's deep voice reverberated through the room, shaking the very air. Leon didn't respond, but his eyes burned with challenge. He raised his plasma rifle, aiming it directly at the enemy. "We didn't come here to survive. We came here to win." Valdrak stood, his hand crackling with intense red energy. "Then let me show you what true power looks like." The room lit up as the final battle between Team Sigma and the supreme leader of Dranok began, a battle that would determine the fate of humanity. In the massive throne room, the soft red light from the high ceiling reflected off the cold steel walls. Each step of Team Sigma echoed in the empty space, carrying the breath of life in a place that seemed to be nothing but death. At the center, Valdrak, the ruler of the Dranok Empire, stood towering. His golden armor gleamed in the faint light, exuding an authority far beyond imagination. In his hand, the massive energy blade pulsed with a blood-red glow, beating in sync with his breathing. He looked at Team Sigma with a mocking smile, his eyes full of contempt. "You actually think weak creatures like yourselves can defeat me, Valdrak, the god of war and destruction?" Leon took a step forward, his gaze locked directly with Valdrak's. There was no fear, only cold determination. He drew his plasma sword, the brilliant green blade glowing like a challenge. "We don't need gods. We only need justice." The battle erupted with explosive speed. Valdrak charged like a whirlwind, his energy sword slashing down with enough power to tear apart space itself. Leon dodged, moving like a shadow, his blade clashing with Valdrak's weapon, sending sparks flying. Meanwhile, the rest of Team Sigma had no time to watch. From the dark corners of the room, Valdrak's elite guards emerged. They were living war machines, heavily armored and equipped with advanced energy weapons. Drago, with his heavy plasma rifle, fired immediately, each blue beam tearing through the air. Ava and Elena worked seamlessly together. Ava hacked into the room's automated control system, disrupting the defense systems, while Elena used energy grenades to block the advancing guards. Kane provided cover from behind, each shot from his rifle landing with deadly accuracy, taking down enemies before they could get close. While his teammates fought to hold off the Dranok forces, Leon continued his one-on-one battle with Valdrak. The enemy was supernaturally strong, each of his attacks shaking the ground. Leon dodged and countered, but it was clear that Valdrak outclassed him in both strength and speed. "You think you're a hero, Leon Vega?" Valdrak roared as he unleashed a crushing blow. "But you're nothing but an ant trying to challenge the heavens." Leon stumbled, Valdrak's blade grazing his armor, leaving a burn mark on his shoulder. He gritted his teeth in pain, retreating to regain his footing. "Ava, status report," Leon yelled, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm doing everything I can, but his system is encrypted at the highest level. I need more time." Ava replied, her voice tense. With no other choice, Leon decided to put everything into one final strike. He charged toward Valdrak, dodging his attacks recklessly. With each step, he closed the distance, his plasma sword burning bright like a blue torch in the red-lit room. As Valdrak unleashed a powerful thrust, Leon spun to the side and seized the moment. He drove his plasma blade through Valdrak's chest armor, directly into the energy core. The explosion of energy was deafening, shaking the entire room. Valdrak fell to his knees, his crimson eyes now gleaming with a desolate light. He gasped for breath, each inhale sounding like the lament of one who knew they had lost. You can't do this," Valdrak snarled, his hand reaching out as though grasping for a final shred of hope. "I am invincible. I am the ruler of the galaxy." Leon bent down, staring into Valdrak's eyes. His voice was cold but resolute. "Not anymore." He withdrew his blade, leaving a faint blue glow in the red darkness. As Valdrak collapsed, the fortress's defense systems began to crumble. Ava reported, "We need to get out now. I've triggered the energy chain reaction. This whole place will explode in 5 minutes." Leon turned to his team. Despite their exhaustion, they all knew the mission had been a success. "Everyone, retreat." Team Sigma rushed out of the room, racing through corridors shaking from smaller explosions. The Erebus waited, and they managed to board just as the entire Dranok Prime fortress was engulfed in a blinding explosion of light. From the cockpit, Kane looked out the window as Valdrak's planet gradually transformed into a giant torch in the vastness of space. "We did it," he said, his voice a mix of relief and awe. Leon said nothing, his gaze fixed outside, his eyes sparkling with unwavering determination. He knew this was just the beginning of a long war, but today, humanity had earned a well-deserved victory. Leon dragged the massive but now weakened body of Valdrak through the central plaza of Dranok Prime, a place once symbolizing the absolute power of the Empire. The Dranok soldiers, with their signature glossy black armor, stood frozen in place. Not due to a lack of orders, but because fear was choking their will to fight. The one they had once worshipped as a god was now nothing but a broken body, the once shining golden armor tainted by blood and dust. Leon stopped at the raised platform where Valdrak had once made speeches to his army. With a sharp shove, he threw Valdrak's body onto the cold stone floor. Valdrak groaned, struggling to lift his head but failing. His fiery red eyes, once a source of terror across the galaxy, were now nothing but a dying spark. "Look closely," Leon shouted, his voice echoing across the plaza. His gaze swept over the Dranok soldiers and the civilians hiding in the shadows of the ruined buildings. This is the fate of those who underestimate humanity. Those who think absolute power can oppress freedom. A few Dranok soldiers dropped their weapons, the sound of metal clashing breaking the silence. Others knelt, unable to look directly at Valdrak. To them, this image was not just the fall of a leader, but the end of an era. Leon. Ava's voice crackled through the comms. We don't have much time. The teleportation gate is about to close, and the planet's defense cannons are being rebooted. If we don't leave now, we'll be overwhelmed. Leon gave Valdrak one last glance. You will live to witness the fall of the empire you built. But I promise you, humanity will never become the oppressors like you. He turned, signaling Team Sigma to retreat. As they ran back toward the ship, they faced the mixed expressions of fear and hope from the Dranok civilians. Some even dared to step out from their hiding places, watching them as if they were saviors from a distant galaxy. The Erebus lifted off, leaving the atmosphere of Dranok Prime as the planet below descended into chaos. Explosions echoed from other areas, signaling that uprisings had begun. The blue light from the teleportation gate appeared ahead, guiding Team Sigma's path home. As the ship passed through the gate, they looked back one last time. Valdrak Prime, once the center of absolute power, was now a smoldering flame in the darkness of space. On board, the atmosphere was heavy yet filled with pride. Drago slapped Leon on the back. We did it. But are you sure? Letting him survive? Leon stared out the window, his voice deep in thought. He needs to live to testify. He's the last one who must answer for everything he's done. Besides, we don't fight to become the new enemies of the galaxy. We fight to protect freedom. Back on Earth, Team Sigma was hailed as heroes. Millions gathered in the Global Union Square, with giant screens showing footage from the campaign. The world had witnessed the battle, and now, they joined in the joy of knowing humanity had won. General Naomi Hart stepped up to the podium, her voice echoing, "Today, humanity has not only defended itself, but also sent a message to the stars. We are not weak creatures. We do not bow to oppression. We are humanity, and we fight to the end." Her words spread throughout the galaxy. The planets once oppressed by the Dranok Empire began to rise. Calls for freedom, peace, and justice echoed, spreading like a tidal wave, sweeping away the darkness of tyranny. Leon stood quietly amidst the crowd, his eyes gazing up at the star-filled sky. He knew the war wasn't over. The remnants of the Dranok Empire still lingered, and one day, they would return. But today, at least, humanity had proven one thing, that they deserved their place in the galaxy. We won't stop here, Leon whispered, a promise to himself. This is just the beginning. The golden sunlight bathed the Global Union Square, where millions cheered, praising the heroes who saved their planet. Team Sigma stood on the high podium, their faces etched with exhaustion but their eyes filled with determination. We have won, General Naomi Hart spoke. But this victory is not just for Team Sigma, it is for all of humanity. We've proven that unity, courage, and the desire for freedom can overcome any challenge, no matter how powerful the enemy may be. The crowd erupted in cheers. On the giant screen, footage of Sigma Team's final campaign was replayed, the moment Leon Vega stood before Valdrak's fallen body, raising his plasma sword as a symbol of victory. But amid the celebration, Leon stood silently. He looked up at the sky, where the stars twinkled like eyes watching over them. In his heart, he knew this was not the end. The remnants of the Dranok Empire still existed somewhere out there, and no one could predict whether they would rise again. As the crowd began to disperse, Leon turned to look at his team. They exchanged meaningful nods. The victory was sweet, but at the same time, it served as a reminder that their responsibility to humanity was far from over. On a distant planet, where the light from the stars couldn't reach, a crowd of beings gathered around a hologram. A new voice rose, filled with hatred. He may have fallen, but the Empire will never be defeated. Prepare yourselves. We will take everything back. The universe continued to move forward, like a stage preparing for the next act. But somewhere in the void, the echo of today's victory still resonated, like a proud declaration from humanity. We do not retreat. We are humanity, and we are always ready to fight.